I'm 68 years old, and I've never been the kind of woman who causes scenes. My mother raised me to keep my voice down, my opinions to myself, and my disappointments private. But standing at that bus stop on Burnside Street with no purse, no phone, and no way to get home, I finally understood what it felt like to be completely invisible to your own child. Hold on a moment before we move forward. Let us know where in the world you're watching from. And if you're loving these stories, don't forget to hit subscribe. Tomorrow's episode is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. The fight started over something small. It always does. Kevin had invited me to dinner at Lucia's, that Italian place downtown, where the cheapest pasta cost $22. I should have known something was wrong when Amber ordered the lobster ravioli without looking at the price. She never does that unless she wants something from me. "Mom," Kevin said, wiping his mouth with the cloth napkin. "Amber and I have been talking." I set down my fork. The marinara suddenly tasted like metal. "We think it might be time for you to consider some changes," Amber said, her voice smooth as cream. She had that look on her face, the one she uses when she's about to sell someone a house they can't afford. "Downsizing, maybe. Something more manageable for someone your age. Someone my age, as if 68 meant I was already halfway to the grave." "I manage just fine," I said quietly. "Do you, though?" Amber leaned forward, her diamond earrings catching the light. Those earrings cost $1,500. I know because I helped Kevin buy them for their anniversary 3 years ago. "Kevin worries about you constantly. That big house, all those stairs. What if you fall? I haven't fallen. Yet," Amber said, like she was being helpful. Kevin reached across the table and patted my hand. His palm was damp. "We're just thinking about your future, Mom. There are some really nice senior communities in Gresham." I looked at a few brochures online. Gresham, 30 minutes from Portland, an hour in traffic. Far enough that they wouldn't have to visit often. "I'm not moving to Gresham," I said. Amber's smile tightened. "We're not asking you to decide tonight. Just think about it." "I've thought about it. The answer is no." That's when Amber's face changed. The pleasant mask slipped, just for a second, and I saw what was underneath. Irritation, impatience, something harder. "You're being selfish," she said. "As usual." Kevin didn't defend me. He just looked at his plate. "Selfish," I repeated. The word hung in the air like smoke. "I paid $45,000 for your wedding, Amber. I saved $890 every single month for 20 years, so Kevin could go to college without loans. But I'm selfish." "That was your choice," Amber said. "No one forced you." "You're right. No one forced me. I did it because I love my son." "And now you hold it over our heads like some kind of martyr," Amber snapped. "That's exactly what I'm talking about. You make everything about you." Kevin finally looked up. "Mom, that's not what she means. Isn't it?" I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Around us, other diners glanced over, then quickly looked away. "Tell me, Kevin, when was the last time you called me just to talk? Not because you needed something, but because you wanted to hear my voice?" He didn't answer. "That's what I thought." I picked up my purse, then remembered I'd left my reading glasses on the table. As I reached for them, Amber grabbed my wrist. "Sit down," she hissed. "You're embarrassing us." I pulled my arm away. "I'm leaving." "Fine," Kevin said, his voice flat. "Go." I walked out of that restaurant with my head high and my heart breaking. It wasn't until I reached the parking lot that I realized they'd driven me there. My car was at home. I'd ridden with them because Kevin said it would be easier, that we could all go together, like a family. Like a family. I stood under the streetlight, fumbling for my phone to call a cab. That's when I realized my purse was still on the chair, inside the restaurant. I must have set it down when I stood up, grabbed my glasses, and walked out. Everything I needed was in that purse, my wallet, my phone, my house keys. I turned back toward the restaurant entrance. Through the window, I could see Kevin and Amber still sitting at our table. Amber was gesturing with her hands, talking fast. Kevin nodded along, his expression tired. Neither of them looked toward the door. I couldn't go back in there. I couldn't face that humiliation again, asking for my purse like some confused old woman who didn't know what she was doing. The bus stop was half a block away. I walked toward it, my knees aching with each step. The arthritis had been bad lately, worse in the cold October rain. I hadn't told Kevin about it because I didn't want to give Amber more ammunition for her Gresham retirement home plan. At the bus stop, I checked the schedule posted behind scratched plastic. The number 15 would take me close to home, but it wouldn't arrive for another 40 minutes, and I didn't have the $2.50 for fare anyway. I sat down on the metal bench, cold even through my coat, and tried not to cry. Around me, Portland kept moving. Cars splashed through puddles. A young couple laughed as they ran past, sharing an umbrella. A man in a business suit walked by without looking at me, his leather shoes clicking against the wet sidewalk. That's when I heard it, the tap of a cane against concrete. "Excuse me," a voice said. Male, older, with the kind of accent that suggested East Coast money. "Are you all right?" I looked up. The man standing in front of me was tall, even with the slight stoop of age. He wore an expensive gray suit, perfectly tailored, and carried a black cane with a silver handle. His hair was white, neatly combed, and his eyes were sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. "I'm fine," I lied. He glanced down the street, then back at me. "I don't mean to intrude, but I couldn't help noticing you came from Lucia's. I was dining there myself when I saw you leave rather suddenly." Heat flooded my face. He'd witnessed my humiliation. "Family dinner gone wrong?" he asked gently. Something like that. He was quiet for a moment, studying me with those sharp eyes. Then he said something that changed everything. "I'm going to make you an unusual offer, and I need you to trust me." He glanced over his shoulder toward the restaurant. "In about 30 seconds, my driver is going to pull up in a black Mercedes. When he does, I want you to take my arm and pretend to be my wife." I stared at him. "What? Your son and daughter-in-law just came outside," he said quietly. "They're looking for you, and judging by the expression on that young woman's face, she's about to humiliate you even further in front of everyone on this street." I turned. Through the drizzle, I could see Kevin and Amber standing under the restaurant awning. Amber was holding my purse, waving it in the air like a flag. Even from here, I could see her mouth moving, probably calling my name with that fake concern she does so well. "Why would you help me?" I asked. The man's expression hardened. "Because I've seen this before, and because they're going to regret leaving you here." A sleek black Mercedes pulled up to the curb, silent as a ghost. The driver, a young man in a crisp uniform, got out and opened the back door. "Mrs. Whitmore," the man said, loud enough to carry. "I'm sorry I took so long in the restaurant. Shall we go home?" He extended his arm. I looked at him, at the car, at Kevin and Amber frozen on the sidewalk, with their mouths open, and I took it. Harold Whitmore's house wasn't a house. It was a statement. 3 stories of craftsman-style elegance in the West Hills, with a view of downtown Portland that probably cost more than most people made in a lifetime. The driver pulled into a circular driveway, lined with Japanese maples, their leaves burning red in the landscape lighting. "I should explain," Harold said as the car stopped. "My wife passed away 2 years ago. The staff is accustomed to my eccentricities, so they won't ask questions about you being here. I don't understand why you're doing this," I said. He looked at me directly. Because I watched my own wife suffer the same humiliation from our children before she died. I was too late to help her. I'm not too late to help you. Inside, the house smelled like lemon polish and old money. A housekeeper appeared immediately, took our coats without comment, and disappeared into another room. Harold led me to a study lined with bookshelves and leather furniture that had seen actual use. "Sit," he said, gesturing to a chair. "I'll have Martin bring tea, then you'll tell me everything." I did. I told him about the $45,000 for the wedding, the $213,600 I'd saved for Kevin's education, $890 every single month for 20 years, while I worked 2 jobs after my husband died. I told him about the small loans that became large ones, the promises to pay me back that turned into silence, the gradual way Amber had inserted herself between me and my son until I couldn't reach him anymore. Harold listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "How old is your granddaughter?" he asked. "Lisa. She's 17. "Does she visit you?" "Not anymore. Amber says she's too busy with school and dance and friends." I paused. "But Lisa used to come every Sunday for lunch. We'd make grilled cheese sandwiches and watch old movies. She stopped coming about 6 months ago." "Did she tell you why?" "No. She just stopped answering my calls." Harold stood and walked to his desk. He picked up his phone, pressed a button, and said, "Martin, I need an address verified." He rattled off Kevin's information from memory, which surprised me until I realized he must have looked it up while I was in the car. Rich people have ways of finding things out quickly. He hung up and looked at me. "Tomorrow morning we're going to visit your granddaughter's school. I have a feeling there are things you need to hear directly from her. She won't talk to me. Amber probably told her. Amber isn't going to be there. Lisa has AP Chemistry 4th period. I checked the school website. We'll catch her at lunch." I stared at him. "Why are you doing this?" "Because your son works at Pacific Northwest Bank, and I own 18% of that bank." He smiled, but it wasn't kind. "Your family has no idea who they're dealing with, Dorothy. Neither do you yet, but you will." That night, I slept in a guest room with sheets that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. I couldn't sleep, though. I kept thinking about Kevin's face when he saw me get into that Mercedes. The shock, the confusion, and underneath it, something that looked almost like fear. My phone buzzed at 7 in the morning. I'd left it in my purse, which Amber had finally returned by having Kevin drop it on Harold's porch with a note that said, "Mom, call me. We need to talk." No apology, just a demand. There were 6 missed calls from Kevin, 4 from Amber, and 1 text message from Lisa, sent at 2 in the morning. "Grandma, are you okay? Mom is freaking out." My hands shook as I typed back, "I'm fine, sweetheart. Can we meet for lunch today?" The reply came immediately. "Mom says I can't see you anymore." I showed Harold the message at breakfast. He read it, nodded once, and said, "We're going to that school." Lincoln High School was a 40-minute drive. Harold had Martin take us in a different car this time, a plain gray sedan that wouldn't attract attention. We parked across the street at 11:30, just as students started flooding out for lunch. Lisa appeared with a group of girls, her dark hair in a ponytail, wearing the dance team jacket I'd bought her last Christmas. She looked tired, thinner than I remembered. I got out of the car and called her name. She turned, saw me, and froze. Her friends kept walking, but Lisa stood there on the sidewalk, her face caught between relief and panic. "Grandma," she said, "you can't be here. If Mom finds out—" "Your mother doesn't control who I see," I said, walking toward her. "Come sit with me for 5 minutes, please." She glanced around, then followed me to a bench near the school's front entrance. Harold stayed by the car, but I could see him watching. "Are you okay?" Lisa asked. Mom said you had some kind of breakdown at dinner, that you walked out and got into a stranger's car. Is that what she told you? She said you're not well, that you're confused and angry and blaming them for things that aren't their fault. Lisa's voice cracked. She said I shouldn't see you right now because it might make things worse. I took her hand. Lisa, I need you to tell me the truth. Why did you stop coming to Sunday lunch? She looked down. Mom said I couldn't. Why? She said you were getting too attached, that it wasn't healthy for either of us. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. She said you were trying to turn me against her and Dad, and that if I kept seeing you, it would hurt our family. The rage that filled me was cold and precise. When did she tell you this? 6 months ago, right after you offered to pay for my dance camp in Seattle. Lisa wiped her eyes. Mom said you were trying to buy my love, that you'd always been manipulative like that with Dad, and I needed to be careful, or you'd do the same to me. Did you believe her? I didn't know what to believe. Mom was so upset, and Dad just went along with whatever she said. Lisa looked at me. But I missed you. I miss you. I miss you too, sweetheart. Mom's been different lately, Lisa said quietly. She's on her phone all the time texting someone. She takes calls in the garage where Dad can't hear. And last week, I heard her telling someone that once you were dealt with, everything would be easier. My stomach turned. Dealt with how? I don't know. But Grandma, there's something else. Lisa glanced around, then leaned closer. 2 weeks ago, I was looking for printer paper in Dad's office. I found emails. Mom was writing to her sister about putting you in a nursing home. She said the house you own is worth almost $400,000, and once you were out of the way, Dad could sell it and invest in her real estate business. Harold had been right. This wasn't just about Amber wanting me gone. It was about money. My money. The house my husband and I bought in 1978 and paid off over 30 years. The house I'd kept in my name because it was the last thing I had from my life with John. Did your father know about these emails? I asked. Lisa hesitated. I think so. I heard him talking to Mom about it last month. He said something about how you'd never agree to sell, and Mom said, "Then we'll make her agree." I stood up, my legs unsteady. Lisa, I need you to do something for me. Can you forward those emails to my account? Mom checks my phone, then takes screenshots and send them from a friend's phone. Can you do that? She nodded. Are you going to be okay, Grandma? I'm going to be better than okay, I said. And so are you. As Harold drove me back to his house, I stared out the window at the city I'd lived in my whole life. I'd raised Kevin in this city, buried my husband here, built a life here. And my son was planning to steal it all away because his wife wanted more money for her failing business ventures. What are you thinking? Harold asked. I'm thinking, I said slowly, that I've spent my whole life being nice, being understanding, putting everyone else first. I turned to look at him. I'm done with that now. Harold smiled. Good, because tomorrow we're going to start fighting back. That night, Lisa sent me the emails. I read them 3 times, each word cutting deeper than the last. Amber's sister had responded with advice. Make sure Kevin's name is on everything before you move her. POA would be ideal. Old people forget what they sign all the time. My phone buzzed. Kevin calling again. This time, I answered. Mom, where are you? His voice was tight with stress. Amber's worried sick. I'm sure she is, I said. Tell me something, Kevin. When were you planning to put me in a nursing home? Silence. Because I have the emails. All of them. And I know exactly what you and Amber have been planning. Mom, it's not like that. I hung up. I didn't sleep that night either. I kept reading those emails over and over, trying to find some other explanation. Some way they didn't mean what they clearly meant, but the words were plain as day. Once we get her into Sunrise Meadows, we can list the house immediately. Glenn says the market's hot right now for homes in that neighborhood. We could clear $350K after fees. Sunrise Meadows. I'd driven past it once. A low brick building on the edge of Gresham, with a parking lot full of potholes, and a sign that advertised, "Affordable care for seniors." The kind of place where people go to wait. Harold found me in the kitchen at 5 a.m, still in my borrowed nightgown, sitting at the counter with cold coffee and my laptop open to those screenshots. "You should eat something," he said. "I'm not hungry." He poured himself coffee and sat across from me. For a while we just existed in that quiet space, two old people who'd been betrayed by the children they'd raised. "My wife's name was Catherine," Harold said finally. "Our daughter started the same way yours did. Small suggestions about downsizing, comments about Catherine's memory, which was perfect. Then came the assisted living brochures, the concerned phone calls to Catherine's doctor about confusion that didn't exist. What happened? Catherine signed over financial power of attorney during what she thought was a routine estate planning meeting. Our daughter had convinced her it was standard procedure. Within 6 months, Catherine was in a memory care facility she didn't need, and our daughter was liquidating assets. He stared into his coffee. Catherine had a stroke 4 months later. The doctor said it was the stress. "I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be angry. Anger is what will keep you sharp." He looked at me directly. "Your son is going to come here today. He called my office this morning, asking for my address. He told my secretary it was an emergency involving his mother." "How did he get your number?" "I made sure he could find it. I want him to come." Harold's smile was cold. "I want him to see that you're not alone and helpless, that you have resources he didn't know about." Kevin arrived at 10:30. I watched from the upstairs window as his Honda pulled into the driveway, looking shabby next to Harold's Mercedes and Martin's Tesla. He sat in the car for a full minute before getting out, running his hands through his hair the way he used to when he was a boy, and had done something wrong. I met him at the door before he could ring the bell. "Mom." He looked exhausted, his eyes red-rimmed. "Can we talk?" "We can talk here." I didn't invite him inside, didn't offer coffee or comfort or any of the things I'd spent 42 years automatically providing. "Who is this guy?" Kevin gestured at the house. "Some man you just met, and you're staying with him? Do you have any idea how dangerous that is? More dangerous than my own son planning to put me in a nursing home so he can steal my house." He flinched. "You don't understand. Those emails, they're taken out of context." "What context makes it acceptable, Kevin? Explain it to me." "We were just exploring options. Amber's worried about you living alone, and I thought maybe if we looked at some facilities together. Sunrise Meadows. That's the facility you chose, isn't it? $1,200 a month for a shared room." I looked it up. The reviews mention roaches and understaffing, and residents who sit in front of a television all day until they die. "It was just research. Research." I stepped out onto the porch, closing the door behind me. "Do you remember when you were 12 and your father died? Do you remember how I worked the day shift at the school district office and the night shift waiting tables at Denny's so you could stay in our house in your same school with your same friends? Mom, do you remember when you wanted to go to Oregon State instead of community college? I took out a second mortgage, paid it off when I was 63 years old, 3 years ago. I had to keep working until then because of you." "I didn't ask you to do that." The words hung between us like poison. He'd said it. Finally said what Amber had been coaching him to say all along. "You're right," I said quietly. "You didn't ask. I offered. Because that's what mothers do. They sacrifice. They give. They put their children first. I looked at him, this stranger wearing my son's face. But you did ask for the wedding money. You asked me to co-sign your first car loan. You asked me to watch Lisa every weekend for 3 years when she was a baby. And I said yes, every single time. What do you want me to say? Thank you? Fine, thank you. Is that what you need to hear? I need you to tell me why. Why what? Why you were going to throw me away. My voice broke despite my best efforts. I'm your mother, Kevin. I wiped your nose and packed your lunches and sat up with you when you had nightmares. I taught you how to drive and helped you study for exams and held you when your father died. And you were going to put me in a roach-infested home so Amber could have more money for her business. He looked at his shoes. Amber's business is struggling. We're struggling. Do you know what private school costs for Lisa? What our mortgage is? We're drowning, Mom. So you thought you'd save yourselves by drowning me. It's not like that. Then what is it like? He finally looked up, and I saw tears in his eyes. For a moment, I wanted to forgive him, wanted to reach out and fix it like I'd fixed everything else his whole life. But I didn't move. We need help, he said. That's why I came here. We need $15,000. The number landed like a slap. After everything, after the emails and the lies and the plans to institutionalize me, he was asking for money. 15,000, I repeated. It's an emergency. Amber's surgery got moved up and the insurance isn't covering all of it. And if we don't pay the deposit by Friday... What surgery? Gallbladder. She's been having attacks for months. Something in his voice sounded wrong. Too rehearsed. I thought about Lisa's comment about Amber taking phone calls in the garage, being on her phone constantly. Let me see the hospital paperwork, I said. What? If it's an emergency surgery, there's paperwork. Let me see it. Kevin's face flushed. I don't have it with me? Then email it to me. I'll wait. Mom, we don't have time for this. The deposit is due in 3 days. Kevin. I said his name the way I used to when he was little, and I caught him lying about homework. Is Amber really having surgery? He opened his mouth, closed it, looked away. Go home, I said, and tell your wife that the answer is no. No? No. I'm not giving you $15,000. I'm not giving you $15. I'm done. His expression shifted from desperate to angry. Fine. Keep your money, but don't expect us to take care of you when you're too old to manage on your own. I won't, I said. I'll hire strangers. They'll be kinder. He walked back to his car, and I watched him go. My hands were shaking so badly I had to grip the porch railing. Behind me, the door opened. Harold stepped out. That, he said, was the hardest thing you've ever done. I nodded, not trusting my voice. It gets easier. Does it? No, Harold admitted. But you get stronger. That afternoon, Lisa texted me. Grandma, Dad came home really upset. He and Mom are fighting really bad. What's happening? I didn't know how to answer that. How do you tell a 17-year-old that her parents are tearing themselves apart over greed and lies, that her grandmother just refused to enable it anymore? I texted back, I love you, no matter what happens. That will never change. She didn't respond. That night, I dreamed about the apartment where Kevin and I lived after John died. 400 square feet above a dry cleaner, the smell of chemicals seeping up through the floorboards. Kevin sleeping on the pull-out couch while I took the closet-sized bedroom, eating rice and beans 4 nights a week so we could afford his basketball league fees. Watching him sleep sometimes, his face peaceful and young, thinking, I'll give you everything, whatever it takes. I woke up crying. Harold found me in the kitchen again at dawn. This time, he didn't say anything, just sat next to me and drank his coffee while I cried for the son I'd lost, and the sacrifices that meant nothing. Harold's office occupied the entire 20th floor of the U.S. Bancorp Tower downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Willamette River, and the furniture looked like it belonged in a museum. His assistant, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia, brought us coffee in china cups while Harold spread papers across his mahogany desk. "I've had my attorney draw up partnership documents," he said. 50-50 ownership of a coffee shop franchise. There's a location available in the Pearl District, fully equipped from a previous tenant. We can be operational in 6 weeks. I stared at the papers. "Harold, I can't afford this. The startup costs alone." "I'm covering the startup costs. $120,000. Your contribution is your expertise." He leaned back in his chair. "You worked in food service for 15 years, correct? You know how to manage inventory, staff, customer service. I know business and financing. We'll make an excellent team." "Why are you doing this?" "Because you need independence. Real independence. Not the kind that comes from your son's charity." He slid the papers toward me. "And because I want to watch what happens when Kevin realizes his mother has resources he can't control." I signed the documents with shaking hands. Partnership agreement, business license application, lease papers for a space on Northwest Lovejoy Street. My name next to Harold's on every page. Dorothy Fletcher, business owner. It felt like putting on someone else's clothes. "There's one more thing," Harold said after Patricia had notarized everything. "Kevin's up for a promotion at Pacific Northwest Bank. Senior accounts manager. $65,000 salary increase." "How do you know that?" "Because I'm on the board of directors, and because I'm going to make sure he doesn't get it." I should have felt guilty, should have protested, but all I felt was a cold satisfaction that scared me a little. "When will he find out?" "Friday. The same day his wife's surgery deposit is supposedly due." Harold's smile was thin. "Interesting timing, don't you think?" The next 3 days crawled by. I stayed at Harold's house and worked on the business plan for the coffee shop. Lisa texted me twice. "Mom says you're having some kind of crisis, and Dad's been really stressed. Please call him." I didn't call. On Thursday, Amber posted on Facebook. I'd blocked her months ago, but Lisa screenshotted it and sent it to me. "Some people will do anything for attention, even inventing dramatic stories about their own family, praying for clarity and peace during this difficult time." 243 people liked it. The comments were worse. Amber's friends piling on with their support. "You're such a saint for putting up with this." And, "My mother-in-law is the same way, always making everything about her." And, "Stay strong, girl." One comment stood out, from someone named Jennifer Costas. "Wait, isn't this the same Mael who paid for your entire wedding? Girl, be grateful." Amber had deleted that comment within minutes, but not before Lisa grabbed the screenshot. Friday morning, Kevin called Harold's office directly. Patricia put him through on speaker. "I need to speak with Dorothy Fletcher," Kevin said, his voice tight. "I'm here," I said. "Mom, what the hell did you do?" "I don't know what you mean. The promotion." "I didn't get it. They gave it to Jenkins, who's been with the bank half as long as me. And when I asked why, they said the decision came from the board." He was breathing hard. "Did you have something to do with this?" "Why would I have anything to do with your work?" "Because you're staying with Harold Whitmore, who I just found out owns 18% of my bank. Did you tell him to sabotage my career?" "I didn't tell him anything, Kevin, but maybe the board decided you weren't the right fit." "This is insane. You're punishing me because I asked you for help." "You didn't ask for help. You asked for money you didn't need for a surgery that isn't happening." Silence. "What are you talking about?" But his voice had changed, gone defensive. I called Amber's doctor, Dr. Martinez at Providence. She's never treated Amber for gallbladder issues. In fact, Amber hasn't been to see her in over a year. More silence. Where's the $15,000 really going, Kevin? He hung up. Harold looked at me across his desk. You called her doctor? I called every gastroenterologist in Portland until I found Amber's primary care physician. Then I explained that I was concerned about my daughter-in-law's emergency surgery and wanted to send flowers. I felt something like satisfaction. The nurse was very confused. Said Mrs. Fletcher had missed her last 3 annual appointments. Well done. That evening, Lisa called instead of texting. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Grandma, Mom, and Dad are having the worst fight. Mom's screaming that it's all your fault, that you've poisoned everyone against them. She says you're sleeping with some rich man, and he's helping you destroy our family. Lisa, sweetheart, is it true? Are you and that man together? No. Harold is my friend and business partner. Nothing more. Business partner? Lisa sniffled. What business? I'm opening a coffee shop in the Pearl District. Lisa was quiet for a moment. You're opening a business? But Mom said you were having a breakdown, that you couldn't take care of yourself. Your mother says a lot of things that aren't true. I'm starting to figure that out. Lisa's voice dropped to a whisper. Grandma, I found something. In Mom's car. Receipts from a plastic surgery clinic in Lake Oswego. For $15,000. The procedure is scheduled for next Tuesday. My stomach dropped. What kind of procedure? Breast augmentation and Botox treatments. There's a consultation form in the folder. She's been planning this for 3 months. So that was it. The emergency surgery that wasn't. The $15,000 that would have come from me to pay for Amber's vanity. Lisa, can you send me photos of those receipts? Already did. Check your email. The photos came through moments later. Clear as day. Dr. Raymond Chen, cosmetic surgery specialist. Procedure total, $1,400 to Patient signature, Amber R. Fletcher. Date, 3 months ago. I forwarded them to Kevin without comment. He called back within 5 minutes. You went through Amber's car? His voice was shaking. I didn't. Your daughter did. Because she's smart enough to know when something doesn't add up. Jesus Christ. He sounded like he was crying. I didn't know. Mom, I swear I didn't know. Didn't you? She told me it was gallbladder surgery. She showed me papers from the hospital. Fake papers, obviously. I kept my voice level. Kevin, you need to ask yourself something. If she lied about this, what else has she lied about? He didn't answer. The emails about putting me in a nursing home, I continued. Did you really think that was just exploring options? Or did you know exactly what Amber was planning, and you went along with it because it was easier than standing up to her? I don't know anymore. His voice was so small. I don't know anything anymore. Then figure it out, and when you do, call me. I hung up. That night, Amber posted again on Facebook. This time it was a rant about toxic family members who spread lies and try to destroy marriages. She didn't name me, but everyone knew who she meant. The comments were different this time, more mixed. Someone had shared Jennifer Costas's deleted comment about the wedding money, and people were asking questions. Wait, his mom paid for the wedding and now you're throwing her under the bus? And something about this doesn't add up. By midnight, Amber had deleted the entire post. Lisa called at 1 a.m. Grandma. Mom found out I sent you the receipts. She's saying I betrayed the family. Dad's not saying anything. He's just sitting on the couch staring at the wall. Are you safe? Yeah. Mom's mad, but she's not scary or anything. She's just crying a lot and saying you've turned everyone against her. Lisa paused. Grandma, can I ask you something? Anything. If Dad leaves, Mom, can I live with you? My heart broke and mended in the same moment. Yes. Always yes. Kevin showed up at Harold's house on Sunday morning without calling first. I was in the kitchen making scrambled eggs when the doorbell rang. Harold was at his country club, so I answered it alone. My son looked like he hadn't slept in days. His shirt was wrinkled, his face unshaven, and his eyes had that hollow look of someone who'd been crying in private. "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside. We sat in the living room, the same room where I'd read those emails about nursing homes and stolen houses. Kevin perched on the edge of the leather sofa like he was afraid to get comfortable, his hands clasped between his knees. "I left," he said finally. 2 days ago. I'm staying at the Marriott on Naito Parkway." I said nothing. I confronted Amber about the plastic surgery. She said it was for us, for our marriage, that she needed to feel beautiful again. He laughed bitterly. $15,000 to feel beautiful. Money she was going to take from you by lying about emergency surgery. Did she admit to the nursing home plan? At first, she said the emails were just venting, that she never meant any of it. He looked up at me. But then I found more. Emails to real estate agents about listing your house. She'd already picked one out. Had appointments scheduled for next month to get comparable sale prices. My house, the house John and I bought in 1978 for $68,000. The house where Kevin learned to walk, lost his first tooth, brought home his first girlfriend. The house I'd kept in my name because it was the last piece of John I had left. She was going to forge power of attorney, Kevin continued, his voice flat. Her sister's husband is a notary. They had it all planned out. Get you declared incompetent, sign the papers, move you to Sunrise Meadows, list the house immediately. And you knew. I knew she was frustrated with money. I knew she resented that you still had assets while we were struggling. He met my eyes. I didn't know about the forgery, but I knew about the nursing home discussions, and I didn't stop them. I told myself we were just planning for the future, being practical. But the truth is, I didn't want to fight with her. It was easier to let her make the decisions. So, you sacrificed me to keep the peace with your wife. He flinched. Yes. At least he was being honest now. Mom, I'm sorry. I know that's not enough, but I don't know what else to say. I failed you. I failed Dad's memory. I failed as a son. His voice broke. I don't know how to fix this. I stood and walked to the window. Outside, a gardener was trimming Harold's roses, methodical and precise. I watched him work while I chose my words carefully. Do you remember? I said slowly. When you were 16 and you stole money from my purse to buy concert tickets? Mom, do you remember what your father did? Kevin was quiet. He made me get a job, mowing lawns. I had to pay back every dollar plus interest. And then he made you sit down and explain why stealing from family was worse than stealing from strangers. Because family is supposed to trust each other, Kevin said quietly. Because when you break that trust, you break something that can't be easily repaired. I turned to face him. Your father would be ashamed of you, not because you made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. But because you took the easy path, you let Amber destroy your relationship with your mother because standing up to her was inconvenient. I know. And now you want forgiveness. I want a chance to make it right. I walked back to the sofa and sat across from him. I'm going to give you a choice, Kevin. But you need to understand that whatever you choose, there are consequences. He nodded, his face pale. Choice 1. You go back to Amber. You stay married. You work on your relationship. You try to rebuild whatever you had. But if you choose that, I sell my house. Not to fund your life or Amber's surgeries or your daughter's private school. I sell it, and I donate every penny to charity, you'll never see $1 of your inheritance." Kevin's eyes widened. "Mom, I'm not finished. Choice 2. You file for divorce. You end this marriage that's turned you into someone I don't recognize. You fight for custody of Lisa because your daughter deserves better than a mother who values breast implants over family. And if you do that, if you prove to me that you remember who you really are, then I'll consider keeping the house in the family. Consider. That's all I can promise right now. Consider." I leaned forward, because trust is earned, Kevin, and you haven't earned mine back yet. He was crying soapily now, tears running down his face. "What about Lisa? If I divorce Amber, she'll make Lisa's life hell." "Lisa already called me. She wants to live with me if you leave Amber." "She told you that?" "At 1 a.m. on Friday, while you were sitting on your couch staring at the wall, instead of protecting your daughter from her mother's tantrum." Kevin wiped his face with his sleeve. "I don't know if I can do this. Divorce, custody battle, losing everything." "You've already lost everything that matters," I said. "Your self-respect, your integrity, your relationship with your mother and your daughter. The only question now is whether you're going to try to get those things back." He stood up, pacing the room. "This isn't fair. You're making me choose between my wife and my family. No, Amber made you choose. I'm just making you face the consequences of that choice. I need time to think. You have until the end of the month. That's 3 weeks." I stood as well. "If you haven't filed divorce papers by then, I list the house. And Kevin, I'm not bluffing. I've already spoken with a real estate attorney about putting the proceeds in a trust for charity." Harold's attorney drew up the papers. "All I have to do is sign." Kevin stared at me like he was seeing a stranger. "Who are you? This isn't like you." "No," I agreed. "The old me would have forgiven you already, would have made excuses for Amber, and pretended everything was fine. Would have handed you the $15,000 and let you lie to me. I walked to the door and opened it, but that woman is gone, and you're going to have to decide if you want to know the new one." He left without another word. Harold came home an hour later and found me sitting in the same spot, staring at nothing. "Kevin was here," he said. It wasn't a question. I gave him an ultimatum. Divorce Amber or I donate everything to charity. Harold sat down beside me. "That's a bold move. Is it wrong? Wrong? No. Risky? Yes. He might choose Amber out of spite. Then I'll know he's truly lost. And if he chooses divorce, but only because of the money, then at least Lisa will be safe. That's what matters now." I looked at Harold. "I'm not doing this for Kevin anymore. I'm doing it for his daughter. She deserves better than watching her father enable her mother's cruelty." Harold nodded slowly. "Catherine would have liked you. Would she? She always said the hardest part of being a mother was knowing when to stop protecting your children and start protecting yourself." He smiled sadly. "She learned that too late. You're learning just in time." That night, Lisa texted, "Dad came to pick up some clothes." He and Mom had another huge fight. She threw his laptop at him. "Grandma, I'm scared." I called her immediately. "Pack a bag. Just essentials. I'm sending a car to pick you up." "Mom won't let me leave. Tell her you're going to your friend Sarah's house. The car will meet you at the corner of your street in 30 minutes. What if she finds out? Then she finds out. But you're not staying in that house while they destroy each other." Lisa arrived at Harold's at 9:30, shaking and pale. She'd packed one small duffel bag with clothes and toiletries. When I opened the door, she dropped the bag and threw her arms around me. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm sorry Mom's so awful, and Dad's so weak, and everything's so messed up." "None of this is your fault," I said, holding her tight. None of it. The coffee shop opened on February 14th. Valentine's Day felt appropriate somehow. A day about love turned into something practical and real. We called it Fletcher's. Simple letters in gold against dark green paint. Harold wanted to add "and Whitmore," but I refused. This was my name, my identity, my proof that I still existed. Lisa helped with the soft opening, taking orders and working the register while I managed the espresso machine. She'd been living with me for 2 weeks by then, sleeping in Harold's guest room and taking the bus to school from the West Hills. Amber had called the police twice, claiming I'd kidnapped her daughter. Both times the officers talked to Lisa, who explained calmly that she was 17 and had chosen to stay with her grandmother. They left without incident. Kevin hadn't contacted me in 19 days. The deadline was tomorrow. "Stop checking your phone," Harold said, refilling the pastry case with lemon scones from our baker. "Either he'll come or he won't. I know. Do you?" He looked at me over his reading glasses. "Because you've checked that phone 14 times in the last hour." Lisa brought over 2 cappuccinos, foam art carefully shaped into hearts. "For the bosses," she said, smiling. She looked better than she had in months. Her face had filled out, the dark circles under her eyes fading. Turned out teenagers did better when they weren't navigating their parents' warfare. "These are beautiful," I said, examining the foam hearts. "YouTube tutorial. I practiced on 12 cups before I got it right." She glanced at the door. "Do you think Dad will show up tomorrow?" "I don't know, sweetheart." Mom called me yesterday, from a number I didn't recognize because I blocked her old one. Lisa sat down at our table, wiping her hands on her apron. "She said Dad moved out for real. Got an apartment in Beaverton. She wants me to come talk to her. Says we need to discuss my betrayal." "What did you say?" I hung up. Lisa picked at her thumbnail. "Is that bad? Should I talk to her?" "That depends. Do you want to?" "No. Every time I think about her, I just get angry. She lied about everything. The surgery, the money, you. She told everyone you were crazy and manipulative." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "She told my dance teacher that you were stalking the family. Mrs. Hendricks actually pulled me aside to ask if I felt safe with you." I reached across and squeezed her hand. "What did you tell Mrs. Hendricks?" "That I'd never felt safer in my life." The next day, February 15th, I arrived at Fletcher's at 5 in the morning to prep for the day. Harold was already there, reviewing supply orders at one of the small tables. He looked up when I came in. "Couldn't sleep either." "Not even close." We worked in comfortable silence, falling into the rhythm we'd developed over 6 weeks of preparation. Harold handled the business side, while I managed the kitchen and customer service. It worked because we trusted each other. Something I'd forgotten was possible. The shop opened at 7. By 7:30, we had a line out the door. The Pearl District ran on coffee, and word had spread about the new place with the older woman who actually knew how to make a proper macchiato. I lost myself in the work, pulling shots and steaming milk and chatting with customers who were becoming regulars. At 9:15, Kevin walked in. He looked different, thinner, older somehow. He wore a suit I didn't recognize and carried a manila folder under his arm. Lisa was restocking napkins near the door. She saw him first. "Dad." "Hi, sweetheart." He tried to smile. "Can I talk to your grandmother?" Lisa looked at me. I nodded, and she went to the back room. But not before squeezing my hand as she passed. Kevin approached the counter. "Mom." "Coffee?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "No, I just need 5 minutes." Harold appeared from the office. "I'll cover the counter, Dorothy." We sat at the table by the window, the same table where Harold and I had our morning coffee before opening. Kevin set the manila folder between us. "I filed the divorce papers yesterday," he said. "That's the proof." He opened the folder to show me court documents, Petition for dissolution of marriage. Kevin Fletcher versus Amber Fletcher. Filed February 14th. Multnomah County Circuit Court. I scanned the papers. They looked legitimate. I'm also filing for full custody of Lisa, with supervised visitation for Amber. He pulled out another document. My lawyer says I have a strong case. Amber's financial deception, the forgery attempt, her instability. Plus, Lisa's old enough that the judge will listen to her preference. What does Amber say? She's threatening to fight. Says she'll expose you as a manipulative old woman who destroyed our marriage. She's already posting on Facebook again, telling everyone I abandoned her for my controlling mother. He laughed without humor. Jennifer Costas commented that maybe if Amber had been honest about plastic surgery, instead of faking gallbladder disease, her husband would have respected her more. Amber blocked her. I'm sorry this is happening. Don't be. This is my fault. All of it. Kevin looked at me directly. I chose wrong, Mom. I chose easy over right. I chose Amber's approval over your dignity, and I can't undo any of that. No, you can't. But I can try to be better. Starting now. He pulled out one more paper. This is a promissory note for $213,600. That's what you spent on my education over 20 years. I'm paying it back, $500 a month until it's done, even if it takes me 36 years. I stared at the paper. Kevin, I never asked. I know you didn't ask. You never ask. That's the problem. You give, and people like me take until there's nothing left. He slid the paper toward me. I can't repay the $45,000 for the wedding. That's gone. But I can pay this, and I will. Harold appeared with 3 cups of coffee. He set them down silently and retreated to the counter, giving us privacy. I don't know if we can fix this, Kevin said quietly. Us. Our relationship. I broke something, and I don't know if it can be repaired. It can't be repaired, I agreed. But maybe we can build something new. Like what? Like honesty. Like boundaries. Like you being an adult instead of expecting me to fix everything. I picked up my coffee. I'm keeping the house. It's mine. And it stays mine. When I die, it goes to Lisa. Not you. Not any future wife you might have. Lisa. Kevin nodded. That's fair. And you don't get to ask me for money anymore. Not for emergencies, not for investments, not for anything. If you need help, you figure it out yourself. Okay. And Lisa lives with me until she graduates. You can visit, but this is her home now. I understand. I looked at my son. This man I'd raised and lost and maybe was starting to know again. I'm not ready to forgive you. I don't know if I ever will be completely. But I'm willing to try. His eyes filled with tears. That's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. He stood to leave, then hesitated. The coffee shop looks good, Mom. Really good. Thank you. Are you hiring? Because I could use a job. The bank fired me last week. Apparently, 18% shareholder influence goes both ways. He tried to smile. I have management experience. I should have said no. Should have kept that boundary clear. But Harold was watching from behind the counter with an expression that said, "This is your choice, not mine." We need a manager, I said slowly. Someone to handle scheduling, inventory, vendor relationships. It pays $4,200 a month. That's half what I made at the bank. I know. Kevin nodded. When do I start? Monday, 6 in the morning. Don't be late. After he left, Harold brought me a fresh scone, still warm from the oven. You're soft, he said. I'm practical. We need help. Keep telling yourself that. But he was smiling. Lisa emerged from the back room. Is Dad really working here? Apparently. Is that weird? Extremely. She laughed, and the sound of it filled something hollow inside me. That evening, after closing, Harold and I sat at the window table and watched the Pearl District wind down for the night. Young couples walked past holding hands. Tourists studied maps on their phones. A homeless man we'd given free coffee to earlier shuffled by with his cart. "Catherine would have loved this," Harold said. "The shop. Watching you stand up for yourself." "Tell me about her." He was quiet for a moment. "She was kind. Too kind. Like you used to be. Our daughter convinced her that moving to assisted living would be easier on everyone. Catherine went along with it because she didn't want to be a burden." He stared into his coffee. "She died thinking she was doing the right thing. I'm sorry. I'm not doing this for her anymore," Harold said. "Catherine's gone. But you're here, and so is Lisa. That matters." "Are we going to talk about what this is?" I gestured between us. "People are already gossiping. Amber's telling everyone we're having an affair. Are we? I don't know. Are we?" Harold smiled. "I'm 72 years old, Dorothy. I'm not interested in romance or grand gestures or any of that nonsense. But I enjoy your company. I respect your strength. And I'd like to keep being your partner, in business and in life, however that looks. That's the least romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. Good. Romance is overrated." He raised his coffee cup. "To partnership." I touched my cup to his. "To partnership." 6 months later, Fletcher's was thriving. We'd hired 4 part-time employees and expanded the menu to include lunch sandwiches. Kevin showed up at 6 every morning, worked his shift without complaint, and left without asking for anything extra. He was slowly, painfully, becoming someone I could respect again. Lisa graduated high school with honors and enrolled at Portland State to study business management. She still lived with me, now in the house I'd kept, the house that was legally, permanently mine. Amber filed for bankruptcy in July. The plastic surgery she'd fought so hard for left her with debts she couldn't pay and a failed marriage she couldn't repair. I heard through Lisa that she'd moved in with her sister in Sacramento. I didn't feel sorry for her. Some nights I still dreamed about that bus stop on Burnside Street, the cold metal bench, the smell of rain, the humiliation of being left behind. But in my dreams now, I always got up. I always walked away. And I always found my way home, because home wasn't a place anymore. It was the coffee shop where Harold and I argued over scone recipes. It was Lisa's laughter in the morning before school. It was Kevin showing up day after day, trying to prove he'd changed. It was knowing I'd saved myself and that was enough.